Rav Nachman says in the sixth lesson, Karat Yoshua, he speaks about this bekiyut that a person needs to know when he goes through life, in the pathway of life. He needs to know that there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, right? There's going to be going through the desert, and there's going to be, going on vacation, having fun, right? There's the difficulties, and then there's all the times where a person feels amazing and things are going great, right? That's just the way life is built. So Rav Nachman says that a person has to have this bekiyut where when he's flying really high, he needs to know that he's still very, very far. When things are so clear to him and he feels like, he's on the top, he needs to remember that things are very, very far, and it's, the clarity that he thinks he has is not clear. Really, it's, darkness. There's so much further you can get. Like they say, when a person climbs in the spiritual madregas, when he goes up to the next madrega, Rabbeinu says that, he has to do tshuva on the fact that, the way he thought that, godliness was, closeness, spirituality, like he thought that's what it was. And once he goes to a higher level, he realizes that level he was on was complete darkness. So when a person's going really high and things are very clear, it's actually very dark. It's actually not clear. So that's one type of bekiyut that a person needs to have in order to never stand in the same place and always continue climbing. And the other bekiyut is when he falls, right? Vatzia shalineka, when he's in a fall and he's in a down and he feels like everything is completely dark, he needs to remember Hashem is right there with him. Right? This Rabbeinu brings in Torah Vav, the sixth lesson, and he ties it into the letter Aleph, Moshe, Yoshua, and the Ohel Moed, where the Torah was drawn down. Anyhow, so I wanted to just try connect it to the Parsha. It says that Hashem, in the Pasuk it says that Hashem was going before the nation with a cloud. In the daytime there was a cloud, as from when we came out of Egypt, right, those 6 days until we got to the ocean. We had, and then further on, every single day basically, till we got to Mount Sinai, full 50 days where we were walking. The Torah says we were walking day and night. So in the daytime we had the cloud, which the cloud was guiding us through, basically just guiding the way. And in the nighttime we had, the fire, pillar of fire, that was lighting up, lighting up the night. So Rashi over there says that the cloud was specifically, he says, was in order to guide, not to give us light, but to guide us in the direction. And in the nighttime, obviously, we needed to be guided in the direction as well, but the pillar of fire wasn't to guide us. The pillar of fire was just to basically light up, give light in that dark space, right? So we could see where we're walking, but we didn't need to be guided. So basically, this kind of comes back, like Rav Nachman brings in that Torah Vav, in the sixth lesson. He says that how does a person come to the level of tshuva by hearing his faults, like Ishma bizyono idam v'ishtok, when he gets embarrassed by someone, right? So then he stays silent, he doesn't answer, and he just takes it in, and through that he merits to tshuva. That's like a process of tshuva where he gets that embarrassment, the blood comes up. There's this whole, dam. He goes from dam, which is blood. He turns it, if he's silent, he brings it to the aspect of adam, which is the shlemut, which is tshuva, when a person's completely always returning to Hashem, tshuva after tshuva. Whatever, I'm not getting into the Torah, I just want to give a little something on the Parsha. But basically this process of humility, when you're being humiliated, and that feeling where a person doesn't answer back and he just stays right, that humbleness, right? So that's a process of tshuva. That's coming close. So that's also why the Torah was given on Mount Sinai. Chazal say that it was because the mountain was a small mountain, had this humility, and the Torah can only dwell, the light of Hashem can come down on someone who's humble. If you want to draw the light down, from Moshe to Yoshua, which is basically, the Yud above the Aleph, through the Vav down to Yoshua, to the lower Yud, down into this world, you have to have this aspect of humility. So basically, in the daytime, Hashem had the cloud. The cloud that we had in the daytime was to guide us the pathway. So you'd think in the daytime you don't need to be guided. It's light, right? The sun's out. So why is Hashem guiding us? So that's the Yud, the upper Yud on the Aleph, which is Imesak Shamayim Shamata. What Rabbeinu says, that the upper Yud corresponds to when a person's really, really high and everything's so clear to him, he has to remember Hashamata, that Hashem is far, that the truth is still far, far away from him. Because when a person thinks that everything is clear, like, a lot of times we feel like when we're in a good mood and we're going through like an up, what we call, right, a good period of time, so we feel like we're close to Hashem at that time. But really, and then when we're going through a down, we feel like we're far from Hashem. But really, it's the other way around. According to the Emet, when a person is flying and everything's going great, over there he's actually further from Hashem. And when he's down, like Rabbeinu says, that when a person's in the pit of the pit, in the darkest space in life, he's very, very close to Hashem. So the reason why Hashem in the daytime, he brought us the cloud to guide us, was because when it's the daytime and you think everything is clear, that's when Hashem needs to guide you. Like a blind person needs to be guided, right? A tour guide, somebody, who he's showing you the way because you don't know the way, right? So when you think you know the way and everything's so clear to you, then you have this type of like gaiva, like you feel like, yeah, I know exactly, what path I'm on, I know what the right thing is to do. You think you got it all and you understand the whole thing. So that's when Hashem needs to guide you and needs to take you, through, to make a right, make a left, and he starts guiding you through life, because that's when you need guidance. That's when you need to be guided, because that's like considered the darkness, even though it's light. And then in the nighttime, right, when it's dark and a person feels like he's far from Hashem and feels like he doesn't know where he's going, and he feels like Mamash Hashem is so far, over there Hashem is a pillar of fire right over there near you. Like Rabbeinu says, that if a person's in the lowest pit, he needs to remember, in the darkest space, you have to remember that Hashem is samuch elav, right there. That Hashem is right there with you at every moment. So that's that pillar of fire that was with us in the darkness. And this was in order so that we could walk, right? We could just walk, lalechet yomam valayla. So we were going day and night, which means lalechet, to walk day and night. Walking is the Torah, right? Like it says, a lot of psukim say that like the Torah is like something that a person needs to walk with in his life. It's like your pathway. So it was in order to take us to walk in the pathway of the Torah in the day and in the night, which means through those ups and downs, through that aspect of that aleph, when the upper yud of the aleph, when a person's flying really, really high and everything's amazing, so he needs to be guided, in the lower, right, the night times. And all this was, the Zohar says that the reason why we needed to walk day and night, like we didn't, we should have just camped in the nighttime. After the Egyptians, after the splitting of the sea, the Egyptians were wiped out, right? We should have, in the nighttime, rest, right? Sleep and then wake up in the morning and keep walking. But the Zohar says that we had to specifically walk 50, it had to be 50 full days, which means daytime and nighttime. There had to be walking and going in order to get to Mount Sinai on the 50th day, on 50 whole days, complete days, and receive the Torah. Which means, in order for a person to get to Mount Sinai, to get to his ultimate kedusha, to receive, an awakening from above, he has to remember, he has to go through these two processes of these ups and these downs, and he has to remember that when he's in a really high and he thinks things are so clear, that then things aren't clear, and then he needs to be very careful. Like Reb Natan says that sometimes a person, he thinks he's close to the tzaddik, or he's reading his Torah and he thinks he understands something, and it could be he's sitting there and listening to the person give over, the tzaddik give over a Torah, and he's sitting in the darkness. He thinks he understands and he doesn't understand anything. Reb Natan warns over there. He says the people who think that they understand, that they're close, they feel close to the tzaddik, they need to be even more careful that they're very far. They even need to be more and more, to chase after and try find the truth from within. Because sometimes when you think it's clear, it's the exact opposite, right? Or it's always like that. So that aspect of the Ayeh, and then the other aspect of the nighttime. So in order to get to that Mount Sinai, we have to have this up and this down, and remember that that Hashem is with you. When in the lowest pit, Hashem is right there with you. When you feel like you're high, remember that you better think twice and be careful, because you're that type of blind person that needs to be guided. So anyhow, B'ezrat Hashem, we should. And one more thing I just wanted to add, that sometimes it gets to a place where a person feels like he gets to a place where he's like at the end, right? And really sometimes the klipa, like at the time of Haman, he wanted He wanted to wipe out the entire nation, meaning that it's that klipa of Paro that's coming now and wants to destroy and kill, right? So when it comes to that, what happens? We see that right before the splitting of the sea, they're coming, the Egyptians, right? Paro, all the forces of evil, right? They're all coming against the Jews, and they're about to wipe us out. We're surrounded from every direction. What does Hashem do? The cloud that only, the pillar of cloud that was only in the daytime to guide us, and as soon as the sun would set, it would go away, and as it was going away, the pillar of fire would come in. They'd kind of blend in with each other, like one would go out, one would come in, but there wasn't a gap or a space between them. But over here, when this happened, so it says that Hashem took the pillar of the cloud, and He put it behind us, behind Am Yisrael. He put it between the Egyptians and Am Yisrael, and the pillar of fire was in front of us, and that's how it was that whole night. So the pillar of fire we had in that dark night, right? Everything was lit up, and behind us, Hashem used the thing that's guiding us, which is the pillar of the cloud, which is guiding us the direction and showing us which pathway to go in. What it became now something in order to make it like a huge cloud, like really foggy for the Egyptians, like they couldn't see anything. It was basically wiping out the Egyptians and not giving them the ability to get close to us, and creating a separation between Am Yisrael and Hashem. So this is also hinted at the end of the parsha, where it says, "Ki yad al kesiyah milchama laHashem milchama laHashem ba'Amalek midor dor," that the war against Amalek, against this klipa of Paro, right, is a war that Hashem is going to have to fight. Right? Milchama laHashem. It's Hashem's fight. He's going to fight. Why is He fighting? Ki yad al kesiyah. What's kesiyah? Chazal say that the chair of Hashem, the throne of Hashem, the true Malchut, the kingdom of Hashem being revealed in the world, and the name of Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei, is not whole. The throne is not whole, and the name is not whole until Hashem wipes out Amalek. Which means this is hinting back that when it comes to that place where the other side, like Haman, like Paro, like any one of the leaders who ever tried to wipe out the entire Am Yisrael, what happens is Hashem goes between them. Hashem creates this cloud. He puts that thing that is guiding you throughout your life, that cloud, that's just guiding you, your pathway, now becomes a cloud that is separating between you and the evil force, which means Hashem comes and puts this barrier between them and doesn't let them get close. So Hashem subdues them, and the thing that for us is a guide, the cloud, where it's just guiding us throughout our life and taking us on the right path to our purpose, that becomes so they actually get wiped out by the thing that's, and it's interesting because it says also in Shir HaMalach that we do in the benching, it says Az yomuv hagoyim igdil Hashem la'asot im ele, igdil Hashem la'asot imanu, that in the days to come, Mashiach comes, where the goyim, the nations, are going to say that igdil Hashem la'asot im ele, igdil Hashem la'asot imanu, that Hashem made all the greatness that we had, that we thought we had all this greatness, right? We saw that it was actually all the greatness that Hashem, Rav Nachman, that's how he's mefarish the pasuk. He explains it, that it was all the greatness that we had was all really the greatness of the Yidden. We thought it was our greatness, but it was their greatness, which means all the gedulah, all the difficulties, all the yisurim and suffering that they put us through, right? Because of all the gashmios, or because of the tsaros and the pogroms and everything we went through. All those things were creating vessels. All those tests and difficulties living amongst the nations and everything was all creating vessels and vessels and vessels in order to bring us to the greatness that we need, which is the third temple. And that's why we're going to be filled with joy. And they're going to be like so surprised, because they thought that they were like ruling over us, and we were this small nation that was being like, medukeh by them. But really, everything that they were doing to us was actually building our vessels and giving us more vessels to be able to receive this huge light. So this huge light of the splitting of the sea, this huge revelation that we're about to get, is all coming in what? It's because the Egyptians now are coming because they want to wipe us out completely. They're about to take us out completely. The whole thing gets flipped. And basically, the thing that's guiding us, right? The cloud. I'm just trying to myself make this clear in my head. But the thing that's guiding us through the desert, right, is actually the thing that is subduing the other side, right? That's the so the when it's the right when it's the unclarity, Hashem needs to guide you, right? When things aren't going your way, when you're in exile, when you're being chased by the nations, all that is like you're being guided through the daytime, right? You're being guided through this galut. Anyhow, I can't figure out how to tie it in exactly, so it's really late. Anyhow, so basically, that whole idea of like remembering that Hashem is right there with you. When you're high, remember that things aren't clear. You need to always remember to keep climbing and keep asking for clarity and keep asking to climb higher and get closer. Don't stop and think you understood and you got to it. And when you're really, really low, remember that Hashem is right there with that pillar of fire. He's right there with you. He's lighting up the darkness. You don't see it. You think it's dark, but really it's the biggest light. And through that, you can continue walking day and night and mamish head towards Mount Sinai and receive the Torah. Zrat Hashem, Shabbos, good Shabbos.